Carvey in all of his good manners and home training. He eating nonsense for breakfast this morning. He got a little bag of candy, but he got home training. He got good manners, good brother. And he says he's thoughtful. He says, Michelle, would you like some? And so, I look over, and I'm like, are those orange slices? with the little sugar, little sugar dusting on him. And he was like, yeah. I was like, what is you doing with the old people candy?
I'm Cory with the candy. I got candy.
I forgot about that. Cory with the candy.
He even shook the bag at you, Michelle. Why, look there. It's orange slices, and they're fresh.
Oh, he's so dirty. He dirty.
I've been holding that one for a while.
I forgot all about Cory with the candy.
He told me don't wear my God hat no more. Have you noticed I haven't worn it either?
I'm like, Cory, where you get this old people candy from? He was like,
he said his grandmama.
He said his mama.
My grandmama give me the candy. She turned me on to it.
That's she turned me on.
That's what he said.
That's she turned me on.
My mama turned me on to it. And wait, what did he say?
Said she put me on.
The cherries too. He said something about the
he said sour cherries.
Yeah, the sour cherries. Love the sour cherries. Dude.
I'm like, what kind of candy? Oh my God. I ain't seen orange slices since my mama. Because
I've seen them, but I don't know about it.
But the only place I ever saw, I told my mama, I said, I don't even know how this company stay in business. The only person in the world that eat orange slices is you. But honey, every Thanksgiving and Christmas, you better believe that candy dish.
Oh yeah.
It had some orange slices in it. We be laughing.
Then he gonna act like he didn't know what the candy corn was. Come on, man, that was good eating.
He said he didn't like it. He knew.
Oh,
he didn't
maybe I misinterpreted.
But I love the difference in language. You said turned him on. Cory said, no, I got put on.
No, he said turned on.
No, he said
I got candy.
But that just cracked me up this morning. I was like,
excuse me, sir, would you like to buy some bottled water? No, but I've got candy and it's fresh.
Leave Cory.
I'm like,
leave Cory alone.
Cory, do you realize what just happened, Cory? I waited till the kids left and I was like, Cory, don't you ever do that. You know what that looked like, right?
Cory said, get off me, bruh. That's what he said.
You don't never help him when he's on me.
I will never
get off me.
I will never help I will never help anybody that gets on you. Put it on paper. Write it down.
And I'm still trying to record this morning. Michelle,
I will never.
I opened the door. I stood there, waited for you. I opened the door.
I love you got your radio voice on. I stood there. I waited for you.
I noticed you had your umbrella coming around.
Yes.
And I says, well, let me open this door because our hands are going to be full because you always usually got your coffee or something and your bags or whatever. So I opened the door rather wide and immediately you went off on me. Like, why does it would go? The first thing you said, you're going to get your head bust. I mean, like, what happened to good morning? Thank you for opening the door for me.
What'd you say you opened the door what?
Rather wide.
And why did you open
Quite
the door?
Wide.
Why?
Excessively wide.
Why was there a need to open the door?
Because you had the
quite
umbrella.
Rather than excessively wide.
When you're maneuvering an umbrella.
Don't play with me.
When you're maneuvering an umbrella,
this is why coworkers get cussed out at work. This is why people go postal and do a whole little event. Wow. Because people always don't, people waiting on you. And I mean, you started as soon as I walked in the door. As soon as I walked in the door.
I waited for you.
But Debo, I don't want to hear it.
Wow.
You full of mess. All right, family, let me move past. Cory, is you in that candy bag?
Trying to quietly.
I hear him over there. He got sugar dusters on the top of his mustache. Look,
that's peach fuzz.
He was feeling.
That's peach fuzz. That ain't no mustache. That's my mustache.
Yeah, he do have a mustache.
Peach stuff.
Yeah, but he got sugar. He got sugar on it. Somebody said and butterscotch.
Yeah. I like that cinnamon, that hard cinnamon one, in the red paper.
No,
that was
sir.
A good one. You didn't like that one?
And it's old people candy. All of that
Well,
is that
hell, who do you think I was getting the
that
candy
purse
from?
that
Old
be that
people.
candy be stuck in your grandma purse at
That's
church.
right. That's the one. She said, "Sat here and eat this, boy."
sat here,
Shut up.
sat
You know
here.
what "sat here"
I
mean?
don't know
Don't
what
try
sat
to
here
act like that.
mean.
So your
I don't
folks
know.
not from down there,
They are,
and they
but
didn't talk
that's
like
not how
that.
we talk.
Oh, well,
No,
I don't know.
this is
I bet you know
the
what
upper
"sat
crust.
here" mean.
I
Sat
don't
here,
have no idea.
sat down.
I have no idea. To everybody that has hit me up already to say good morning, family. Nice to be with you all this morning. So a couple of things need to happen. First, let me just take a second since I played "Rainy Night in Georgia." Just got to say that song was actually written by a gentleman by the name of Tony Joe White in 1967, but it was popularized by R&B vocalist Brooke Benton in 1970. The brother or the guy who wrote the song talked about the fact that he was, when he got graduated from high school down in Marietta, Georgia, he was living with his sister, working for the city, driving a dump truck, and saying, playing his guitar and hanging out all night. So at some point he moves and he decides, I want to, I want to be an entertainer. I want to, write songs. And he said he got some advice from somebody that said, write about what you know about. And so this was the first song he ever wrote was "Rainy Night in Georgia." He said, because in Marietta, rain all the time. He said, I know about rainy nights. And so that was kind of interesting that he said, like, literally, that was my first song out the gate that I ever wrote. And he goes on to be like, right now, I know there were people that when they heard it this morning, they went, hey, yeah, that song will forever be a classic. All right. So let me see. A couple of things. First of all, someone hit me up yesterday. We spent time talking about the fact that you can now request your early um your ballot for early voting. And that I made the request that you return them right away. Do not wait to return them. Go ahead, get them completed. Of course, have somebody witness it while you do it. Get them to sign it and get those ballots mailed back in. And you can also drop them off. But someone flagged for me and brought it to my attention that in terms of drop off locations, they are not accepting them at drop off locations yet until I want to say October. Let me see if I got it. Um, I think it's like October. I'll find it. But you can't drop them off like how we can drop them off at the library or drop boxes. You can't drop them off yet, but you can mail them back. And I will find my information on that so that everybody is aware, because there are some people like, wait, what's going on? Why can't? And they have the signage posted on the different location sites to let you know you can't drop it off. Oh, there it is. Thank you so much. Okay. So you can start dropping off ballots Monday, October 14th through Tuesday, November 5th at various drop-off locations. So just want to remind people, the Dropbox schedule, it starts later. It is October 14th through November 5th. So right now, if you got that ballot, you need to mail it back in. Excuse me. Make sure that you mail it back in. All right. Whew. So it's going to be a lot to get to. But before I do that, I got to take a second because when I walked in, Debo asked me, had I heard about this case involving some folks that had been on Judge Judy? And I was like, no, what you talking about? And so he went on to tell me about it. But then I remembered I had saw a title in the Journal Sentinel uh, when I was skimming the paper, but I didn't pay attention to it. So the title said, Judy Justice, food stamp fraud suspect goes to trial in Milwaukee. It's Milwaukee. So I'll just let you set it up. Tell me,
No,
tell me what you
please.
talked about.
Well, no, I just saw it on the news this morning as I, do my morning news intake. They would, these two, I guess, one had taken the other to court as a small claims gesture or what have you. And she was like, well, she would get, so she said, well, I get $100 worth of stamps from her. And then she said, well, stamps. Judy played crazy, stamps. What's that?
Oh my God.
Stamps, Quest. So I said, well, what did she get in return? Oh, I give her $50. Okay. And so she admitted that. And I know what I heard on the news is that she's facing like 9 felony charges. And the woman who was buying them is in court today.
So I went to pull a story. Per the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, a trial begins Monday for a Milwaukee woman who prosecutors say confessed to selling food stamps on an episode of TV's Judy Justice. So this is, I guess, her new show. Milwaukee County prosecutors charged Katrina Weems, 42 years old, in July 2023 with multiple counts of money laundering and of misusing the benefits of Food Share, the Wisconsin food stamp program. The alleged scheme drew attention The alleged scheme drew the attention of state investigators after Weems and another woman were before Judge Judith Scheinlin a year earlier on Judy Justice and appeared to admit to selling and buying food stamps. Jury selection is expected to get underway Monday morning in the Milwaukee County Circuit Court, Judge Jonathan Richards' courtroom. Weems has pleaded not guilty to the charges against her. Javala C. Elams, 26 years old, also was charged in the case. She pleaded guilty in January to a felony charge of knowingly trafficking food stamps valued between $100 and $5,000 and a misdemeanor charge of knowingly trafficking food stamps of less than $100. Elams has not been sentenced. She expected to testify for the prosecution at the trial. Nearly 710,000 people in Wisconsin receive food share benefits, according to information from DHS. And Judy Justice is the continuation of Judge Judy, which actually ceased to operate back in 2021. So you go on this show, and these people are paid to go on. And then if they win, the decision, they get that money as well. But you go on this show and you say out loud, you admit out loud that you committed a felony. Like, how dumb can you be? So when you said it, I was like, I wonder, is that case? When they said Judy Justice, food stamp fraud, and I just didn't read it.
I didn't realize it was a local case.
It's Milwaukee.
Wow.
And these are the most hillbilly, silly people I've ever seen in my life.
You know what that means?
What?
It was like really, really, really the wrong time for Aisha Carter to be fooling around with them food stamps because they was already on.
They can't play.
They was on them.
They can't play. They can't. I mean, this ain't the time. This ain't.
Allegedly, she's supposed to. Allegedly.
But either way, like I said, yeah, you're gonna get handled crazy because people got and just like when the caller called yesterday, people out here working hard, trying to make ends meet. But the other thing I tell people is that it's certainly illegal, but I know why it happens.
Absolutely.
Because
it's a benefit to both parties.
Yeah, I can't buy aluminum foil. I can't buy toilet paper. I can't buy toothpaste, deodorant, laundry detergent, dish detergent, all the things. People think, because we had people that would get in like W-2 assistance, so you couldn't get cash, but they would give you food stamps. But I still got to brush my teeth.
Yeah,
I had toilet paper for the house. So there would be people that would make the decision, okay, I'll pay for $30 of your groceries and you give me $30 in cash so I can buy some basic essentials to run my household.
And you're not saying that you have ever done this, right?
No, hell no.
Just messing with you.
Look, let me be clear. I ain't got time. I can't go to jail with y'all. I ain't built for jail. Well, let me not say that. I believe I'll be a kingpin in jail.
Me too.
But there's other sides of me that people don't understand, that I'm not built for jail. I ain't built for it. I don't like. I don't like not being able to walk out when I'm ready to walk out. So let me go to the phone line.
Lights out, go to bed. No,
it's too many damn rules. I can't go to jail.
It's called jail, Michelle. Jeez.
It said it's called jail. Hey, caller, what's happening?
Hey.
Hey.
You know, I saw that Judge Judy show when they were on there
You saw it when it really happened?
when it really happened.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
my wife was looking at it, but it dawned on me the stupidity involved. But I want to tie that to the commercial that the Republicans are running on your station,
Okay.
where they're taking snippets of Kamala Harris's voice and then putting in where she said, "Oh, they're stupid. I think they're stupid." And it dawned on me, I'm like, they're playing these for people like these ladies that were on Judge Judy, who might listen to that and go, "Oh, Kamala Harris thinks we're stupid." Listen to that commercial, and you'll see what I'm saying.
We
And when
listen
I
and
heard it the
we can't
second
stand
time
it
on the
either.
station, I mean, it bothered me that they're running it because I'm saying we got people out there, young people, that'll listen to that and jump on that. Oh, she think we stupid, girl. Listen to this.
Right.
So
No, and
this,
thank you. And you know what? I'll take a second and actually talk about the context of that commercial. So I appreciate you for bringing it up. Thank you, bro.
yeah,
I
have a good
appreciate it.
one.
Yep, you too. All right. So before I go to break, so just real quick, Reuters, because this commercial is running all over the country. It's not just running here in Milwaukee, it's running all over the country. So on Reuters, all the way back in July, they did a fact check on whether or not Kamala Harris called young people stupid. A video where U.S. Vice President and presumpt or now nominee for the Democratic Party refers to young people aged 18 to 24 as, quote, stupid, has been taken out of context on social media. The longer original footage shows Harris presenting a program aimed at lowering recidivism among young offenders with better reintegration. One of the social media posts sharing the clip is captioned, "Yo, 18 to 24-year-olds, never forget what the presumptive Democratic nominee thinks of you when you vote in November." Harris can be heard saying in the 22-second snippet, "And it's a specific phase of life." I'm quote, "And it's a specific phase of life. Remember, age is more than a chronological fact. What else do we know about this population, 18 to 24? They are stupid. That is why we put them in dormitories and they have a resident assistance. They make really bad decisions." However, the video has been cropped and stripped of its content. The clip shared on social media matches exactly between, and they talk about the timestamps on it when it happens. And the full video shows Harris talking about Back on Track, a program aimed at reducing recidivism among young people, and how it can help those who have been arrested on low level charges by having charges dismissed after completing the program. The wider quote before the snippet shared on social media shows Harris saying, quote, "When I was at Howard University and we were in college, we were 18 to 24. And you know what we were called? College kids. But when you turn 18 and you're in the system, you aren't considered an adult, period." At about the 20 mark, she says that in 5 years, the program helped reduce recidivism young, among young people from 54% to less than 10%. So one of the things that they went in and says that there's a bunch of missing context to this comment. And she was actually making a comparison about how people are viewed in the system in terms of recidivism and reentry and going back into jail. How, as a college student, even though they're the same age, they're considered students. They're not fully young adults yet. So yeah, there is contextual issues with that commercial. Hopefully, a lot of people understand it, but the targeted demographic of the 18 to 24-year-olds, people will take stuff and run with it, like dumb Janet Jackson, who sat on her, behind in the interview and said she is not black. At least that's what I heard. Talk what you know and not what you think. I got to take a break. I'll be right back.
WNOV.
All right. All right, family, welcome back to the show. So at this point, I can't even believe it when it's a whole bunch of people on. What are people for? Okay, I will go to the phone line in a sec, but let me just say this. I cannot believe that we are now 41 days out from the November 5th election. We have been talking a lot about um, what's at stake, what's on the table, the work we got to do. It is now in the crunch time. I was on conference calls last night talking about what's needed to get out the vote. And so we got a lot going on and happening in the state of Wisconsin. But before I set up the next conversation, let me get these callers. Hey caller, what's happening?
Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning.
Totally off subject, but I've been wanting to know for a long time. The sign that's on Titonia that says WNOV, is there a way that can be moved to where you guys are on Capitol? And if so, how? Because that is a landmark.
You know what? That is actually a question that's above my pay grade, but I can certainly ask
Oh,
about it. Yeah, you're right.
can
That
we get
is
a
a
campaign going
yeah.
when
You know
something
what? And I think
happens?
that the owner still. I don't know. I think Gerald Jones may still own that building. So yeah, let's. I know they're listening. They listen. So
Can we please move the WNOV sign off of Titonia to
over to this
Capitol?
building. Okay,
Please.
I will.
Have a great day, Michelle.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And it's interesting because I smile whenever I go by and I see that sign. And I have. It's funny she said it because I've often said, "Look, station management said we are listening." So that there is a campaign, and they said, "Oh wait, yes, we are in the process of doing it now." So to the caller, it looks like that, yeah, there is work underway to move that sign to this location. Hey, you never know. All right, let's go to the phone line. Hey, caller, what's happening?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I was the one that sent you the butterscotch, but anyway, that's what I buy and put in my purse, and I can because it's only $1 at Walgreens. I love butterscotch, but anyway, I remember when you and Keon had brought that up about that case about the food stamps, so I guess they probably going to court, and that's been a while. And
Yeah, now that I look at it, I'm like, it goes back to 2023. And you're right.
yeah,
Like I said, once Debo mentioned it, I had to go back and see. And then when I realized the time frame, I'm like, I think this came up before.
and then in one time I was going, and Keon was trying to explain to me how to find the WNOV. And I saw that sign and I was knocking on it. I'm like, this ain't no radio station. And the people came to the door. And then I finally made it to where you guys were. And because I just had to come up there and see you and stuff because I hadn't met you yet. And
Okay.
and you and Keon was trying to explain and I was lost. And this is way off topic. I was thinking about the building where they put the food stamp place where it used to be on 12th and Police. So I finally get way out there by, um, I guess this is the Silver Spring, and it's changed so much when I first moved here. It didn't look like West Line area, and because I remember I had a couple jobs at the Family Dollar and different places when I first moved up here. And then when I finally get there, Michelle, and I was speaking about what you and Lena Taylor were talking about, trying to bring them children back close to Milwaukee. When I
Oh.
got in the building, it looked like a prison. And
Mm.
they had so much security. And I'm like, who the hell up in here? Oh, I'm sorry, cuz. I said, who in here? I said, Obama done came back to town. They had so much security. I said, don't nobody want to come in here and break in and steal y'all because y'all ain't got no quest card and there ain't no more paper food stamps. So what are y'all doing? Who coming here? And
Mm.
they just all started cracking up. It was like that. I was like, Obama must be coming back. But they could have used that building to bring them children back here closer so their parents could see them because it looks strictly like a prison to me.
Mm.
And
Okay.
also, I just want to say good morning, everybody. And you right about the price gouging on bleach and everything because you do the math on the quarts of bleach and how they sell the quarts of pine saw. It totals up to 10 of that. And it's just like, you have nothing. And I went to the Social Security building to see if I could get like 3 or 4 hours or at least 12 hours a week. And they said by me getting both disability and part of the the pension, I can't work because they'll take whatever I make because $1,000 don't go nowhere, because the rent prices, and I understand why, because property taxes went up. But yeah, it's hard.
Okay.
All right.
All
Thank you,
right.
guys.
Thank you, so Lisa. I appreciate the call. Got another caller on the line. Let's get them in. Hey, caller, what's happening?
You. And what I want to tell you is
You.
I am I'm a Democrat, right?
Yes,
But
ma'am.
somehow Ron Johnson and them got my phone number, right? And
Mm.
they had a conference call. And he's really pushing voter fraud on that conference
Who
call.
was doing this?
And the
Ron
young
Johnson?
black, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And the young black men that called, it was two of them, and I could tell by their voice that they were black. Oh my God. They really believe in that orange man. I can't believe it. Okay, thank you. Bye.
Yep. Thank you. No, I understand. So people sell lists of voters and people that they reach out to and engage, and it is possible for your name to end up on a list that Republicans have purchased. And my name is one of those names. So I get all of the, Republican, the Trump emails, the Trump supporter surrogates. I get all their information. And one of the things that is without doubt, this was done in the 2020 election, is being done now, is that whole thing about pushing voter fraud. Donald Trump is trying to figure out a couple of things. Number one, if I lose, true to form, I can't accept that I lost. Somebody had to do something improper or inappropriate, or they had to cheat, or they had to be fraud, because I'm Donald Trump. I'm the most amazing thing since sliced bread. There's no way I could lose an election. And so they're already planting seeds of doubt. And then if you look at poll numbers, Kamala Harris, depending on which polls you look at, particularly since the debate, there's a teeny shift. So we can see Kamala Harris up by 3 percentage points, taking into consideration the margin of error. But that is why you're going to have, things happening on all fronts. So you're going to have people dropping conversations about voter fraud. You're going to have election officials continuing to try to figure out how to take votes away from people that are legitimately, legally casting their ballots, whether that's siphoning off votes or challenges. We will see that happen too. We will see disinformation, misinformation campaigns that are targeted at the particularly the Black community. There was a report recently that I think it was Iran had done some hacking into the emails of the campaigns and tried to sell Trump staffers emails to the Democrats, and they didn't bite. People like, we're not getting involved in that. But there are going to be a number of different strategies employed to try to impact or affect the outcome of this election. And then you'll see the candidates and their surrogates continue to crisscross the country, going to battleground states, to the point that you're like, okay, now look, you've been here 7 times, go somewhere and sit down. Don't y'all have somewhere else to be? So Donald Trump is set to be in Wisconsin. I think they said he's going to be at Prairie du Chien or somewhere this week. I think on Friday they said he may be coming. I have to go double check. But we know that the surrogates are out. I just did a interview and we recorded it over the weekend. So we're going to get that played this morning for Cory Booker, who was in Detroit talking to small Black business owners about Kamala Harris's plan to help entrepreneurs and businesses. Donald Trump is telling people, the farmers, y'all not gonna have a farm if y'all don't elect me. Like, when I say this man is such a narcissist, the whole world is gonna stop if I'm not the president. You weren't the president for the last 4 years. And we came through one of the worst crises in terms of COVID that this country has seen in a long time. Nobody lost a farm because you wasn't the president. They didn't. The world didn't stop because you didn't get elected. And the 4 years that you were in office, there's nothing that indicates that you made it better for farmers. Nothing. The 4 years you were in office, there was nothing that you did that, increased minimum wage. You put somebody over that whole area who was completely the man who owns Hardee's, completely against minimum wage for employees. That's who you put over one of those departments. I mean, like, people act like they don't have a record of the 4 years that this man was in office. Like, this is some new candidate who making new promises. The wall didn't get built in the 4 years that dude was in office. Mexico never paid for the wall as he said they would. All of the stuff that's being talked about now, this pie in the sky, life gonna get better for you. It was not. He benefited from the Obama era policies. Trump walks into a gold mine. I remember saying it on this radio station. I hated that he was going to come in behind Obama because Obama has set up some framework for things that hadn't even transpired yet that were going to be great for the economy, great for, for residents. And Trump was going to end up being the beneficiary of the good work of Obama. And that's exactly what happened. Nobody talks about that. This man comes in and creates the biggest tax cut in the history damn near of this country for the wealthiest people, 1% of people in this country. This man left us with a bill. He left us with a bill. I was just talking to somebody yesterday, and they were talking about tax cuts for everybody. And I was like, you got to understand. You got people right now that don't pay their fair share in taxes, that are some of the wealthiest people in this country. No, we can't say tax cuts for everybody because I got people that's not pulling their weight. We're subsidizing some of the work that's not being done and the fair share that's not being paid by some of the wealthiest people in this country. We got to understand these issues when we talk about them, y'all. So these young brothers that's out here and these any of these brothers that's supporting Donald Trump, what did he do for you when he was in 4 years ago? Answer me that. Riddle me this. How did you come up 4 years ago when Trump was in office? You didn't. You didn't come up. If you weren't of a certain financial standing, you didn't come up. Your kids didn't get no smarter. The educational system didn't get no better under Betsy DeVos crazy behind. Social service and social safety net programs, they were looking in any way possible to cut them. It was controversy and drama every day. Every day. School shootings didn't decrease. Like, tell me, outside of this fake, Trump is a magic man when it comes to economic policy, which he is not. That's why his own personal stuff is always in a state of turmoil and failure. And somebody's bank always got to come and help rescue him. He was fake when he was on The Apprentice. He was not a successful mogul at that time. They made that whole damn thing up. So I just want to say to the brothers that keep touting this dude, what part about you saw this in action 4 years ago and you don't have a single receipt from Donald Trump being in office 4 years ago? Not one. You don't have one. And people not understanding who a lot of the credit should go to for a lot of the work and the things that look good during his 4-year terms. Barack Obama had already set the foundation. Let me go to the phone line. Hey, caller, what's happening? Hey, caller, what's happening?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. Morning. Like the old lady said, I'm off topic. Did you get my text one day? This is John. I sent you too many things. I think I'm kind of off the way I do things on text, but I wasn't sure if I had your right number. Did you get a bunch of text with maps and stuff?
No, I don't think I've seen that.
Oh, God. Okay. Well, back to the other thing. Did you say Lackey deny the other day?
Did I say what? What did I say? What?
The site you were telling me to go to for the Minister of Farrakhan about slavery. Did you say lackey deny? Is that the little phrase after there?
Let me pull it up again from my notes, and then I'll make sure I announce it again. Okay.
Okay. Then, meantime, I think I thought it was the guy's name. It was actually a statement because I kept typing and typing, and it kept coming back.
No, it was
So,
on YouTube. It's a whole video of
Yeah.
Farrakhan doing
Yeah.
his speech.
Right. Was it on anti-slavery group? Did it look like that was the page it was on?
You know what? Again, give me a sec. I'll look for it for you during the break, and I'll announce it. Okay.
Okay. Thanks
All
a
right.
lot.
Thank you.
Well,
All right.
Well, thanks a lot. Talk to you later.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it. All right.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Let me go to the phone line. Hey, caller, what's happening?
Hello?
Yes, hello.
Yes, Michelle, I have a comment. I was sitting in a barber shop one time just getting my afro done.
Okay.
And the barber was telling me how a lot of brothers were voting for Trump because he gave them this stimulus check. And I was like, are you serious? And I said, is that really what the price of your freedom is? A check?
Ignorant. Just ignorant.
For what, a couple of $100 or whatever? I mean, really. My price of my freedom is priceless. It has no price.
But the thing that's
It's not
sad,
my freedom.
the thing that's sad is that they don't even know Trump didn't want to give those stimulus checks. He didn't even want to give them. He had to back down from Congress. Congress was the one that went ahead and kept pushing for them checks. This dude did not want to sign and give those checks. He did not. It was a part of the spending bill. He did not want to do it. They had to do it to avoid a government shutdown. Donald Trump did not want to give people checks. Think about it. Thank you, bro. And you know, we got to be able to understand some of this information when people start talking in the barbershop, because everybody in that barbershop got cell phones. And tell them, go Google it. Don't listen to me. Pull up Donald Trump and stimulus checks. Here's one of the first things that comes up. President Donald Trump signed into law a major coronavirus stimulus package along with an annual spending bill, avoiding a government shutdown before a Monday night deadline. This was dated December 27, 2020. Trump has railed against the $900 billion coronavirus relief bill and the $1.4 trillion government funding bill since Congress approved it, demanding $2,000 checks and cutting out foreign aid. But on Sunday evening, after the days of being lobbied by allies, Trump decided to sign the bill and not leave office amid a maelstrom of expired benefits and a government shutdown. Like, that's the part people don't understand. The dude did not want people to get these checks. And then, you know, when he finally acquiesces, then I want my name on the check. Your name don't have no business being on the checks. You are not the treasurer of the United States. Your name has no business being on the checks. That was the first time that has ever been done. This clown insisted that his name go on the checks. Donald Trump ain't gave y'all Nathan. And somebody need to help educate these, and to the point that the caller made, that you for sale for a couple $100. And something I don't even remember. But you for sale for that? So somebody can do all these other things that hurt your community, hurt you as brothers and sisters, hurt HBCUs, hurt, you know, black farmers, hurt everybody. But he gave me a check. He ain't gave you nothing. Did not want you to get no help. Was not happy when they came up with programs to try to keep people from being evicted and put out their houses during COVID-19. He told y'all behinds to drink bleach to get better. He was secretly getting COVID treatments while he was out in front telling y'all not to do it. Everybody out here talking about conspiracy. Guess who was at the doctor? Getting vaccines and getting what he was supposed to get to stay alive. All of it was a scam. It was a scam. And even for the old school brothers who back in the day, you know, now that we can read about it, all of it was BS. Trump was pretending. Half of the names that got his building on it, he just leasing his name out. Again, your pockets is so raggedy. Your financial situation is so off. You cannot borrow money. Some of these brothers who are running around here admiring Donald Trump got a better credit score than Donald Trump and can go get a loan for their car and go get whatever they need. Donald Trump had to leave the country to borrow money to continue to do business. Bros don't even understand that. And then when you say, bros, let me show you a picture of this man's cabinet and his inner circle and everybody that's around him, and you won't see nobody that look like you, except for the token being Carson, whatever his name was, when he was sitting there. That's it. You're not even in the mix, fam. You're not even in the board in the boardroom. You're not at the table. You on the menu, clown. Donald Trump ain't checking for you. He figured out how to use you. What I got in common with black people and why they're supporting me. Because I've, been convicted of felonies. That's where I connect with the blackies. We all got felonies together. I'm just saying. He might as well say that. That's what? That's where I connect with the blackies. We all have felonies. They can relate to my struggle, and I can relate to theirs. I have 34 felony counts, and yes, I'm running for president. And no black man with 34, no black man with one felony count could run for president of these United States. But we are in the struggle together. Yes. They feel my pain, and I feel theirs. I won't hire any of them to work in my cabinet. I won't appoint any of them. I won't give none of them jobs. But those Negroes is going to carry that water for me and get me across the finish line. And what are they going to get in return? I'm going to figure out how to privatize education so that their children cannot get a quality public education. I'm going to figure out how to keep wages stagnant and low so that they don't get an increase in minimum wage. Now I'm going to help the tip wage people, the waitresses, and let them finally get minimum wage because a lot of them still just getting tip wages, and we're not going to tax that. But I'm with them. I'm with them. I meet them at the chicken restaurant and have the little black girl come on and lie about, what Kamala Harris hasn't done and this is wrong and this is wrong. I'm just saying. But I got some good Negroes right here in Wisconsin that's going to carry the Trump water and put it on the Trump train, and we going to ride. What? Why are you looking at me? What? Y'all hear him? I'm not by myself. I'm not the only person that hear this. Up on the other radio station, these Negroes selling our people down the river. Try Trump. Try Trump. Forget the last 4 years he was in office and you didn't get nothing. Try Trump. I'll be right back.
Michelle Bryant on 860 WNOV.
All right, party people in the place to be. The party is already started. And I got all my sisters with me.
Now, back to Say Something Real with your host, Michelle Bryant on 860 WNOV.
All right, family, welcome back to the show. This is Michelle Bryant. And yes, Say Something Real. Real talk. We are just a few weeks away from the November 5th presidential election. A lot's going on. Surrogates on both sides of this thing being dispatched all across the country. And here in Wisconsin, as a battleground state, we are so fortunate that we are getting attention, that, people are coming into the state or finding out what our constituents want to talk about and addressing those issues that are important to helping people make the best decision come November 5th. I am so fortunate to be talking to. I understand that we have none other than U.S. Senator Cory Booker on the line. Senator Booker, are you there?
Oh my gosh, I am here and happy to be talking to you from Michigan.
Look, I was just getting ready to say, trying to figure out where you are. I'm like, I know I saw something today saying he was going to be in Michigan. And then I look up and I see, the press, and I'm like, okay, yep, it was Michigan. So you're still on the ground. And I know you were in Flint, at least at one of the cities you were in. There's no way I hear Flint and not think about the challenges that, the folks in that community faced around the whole issue of water, the incredible time that they went through in terms of having clean access to healthy water, even the role that legislators or elected officials played in what happened to these people. In your visit, and I'm sure you're there, or I'm asking, are you there in your capacity as a surrogate for the Harris Walls campaign? Did the issue of water or environmental justice come up at all while you were in town?
Absolutely. People talk to me about that crisis, especially because I'm from Newark and we had our own water crisis. The reality is we all across America, even when Flint was happening, there were still over 3,000 jurisdictions in America where kids had more than twice the blood lead levels, because we've neglected our environmental justice issues. Every American should have access to clean water and clean air. And it's one of the reasons I'm psyched. Between Trump, who did nothing about the crisis, to Biden and Harris, Kamala and I the vice president and I worked so closely in the Senate on these issues. As soon as she got in the White House, we were able to get a massive, literally billions of dollars to improve net water quality around the country, to get the money to get every lead service line out, because clean water should be a right of every American. And that's what I'm proud of. These environmental justice issues, clean air, so important. We were able to improve emission standards, stop big polluters, as opposed to what Donald Trump was doing, which was giving all these polluters a pass and really triggering people with asthma or emphysema or other crises. So we don't talk about environmental justice enough, but I'm so proud of the record that Kamala had as vice president, and she lives these issues, so I'm excited about her administration.
And it's one of the things, because here in Milwaukee, as we talk about lead lateral removals, in terms of access to water, clean, healthy water here in our city, it's one of those things when I'm trying to talk to, listeners to the show, helping to educate our community, because we, for some reason, never associated environmental justice with the African-American community. But when you think about where you see a lot of, plants located, where you see a lot of health challenges in terms of, the toxins that we are breathing in, the dumping that occurs in our communities. I was telling somebody, we even talk about this premise in Milwaukee that when it gets hot, you can expect more violence in the community. I never associated the fact that because we have fewer green spaces in our city, that the heat has nowhere to go as it's bouncing off this concrete. And I'm like asking people, like, how do you respond when you are when you're hot and you're agitated? And so there are things that we're thinking about as behavior and not even connecting them to environmental factors that are happening around us. So the work that you all are doing is so important.
Yeah, and including the biggest ever in the history of our country tree planting effort. We were to get over $1 billion. Tammy Baldwin helped me in this fight into the budget with the Harris and Biden team to get over $1 billion for urban tree planting. And to your point, I just got I think it was Lexington, Kentucky, did an actual study with University of Kentucky. More trees you have in your community, they were able to show that it lowers inflammation rates, that it improves health rates. And, you know, Black folks especially, we overrepresent in respiratory diseases. We overrepresent in cancers. And we got to have real champions because this is a life or death issue. And when people tell me they don't know if they want to vote or not, I'm like, are you kidding me? If we lose Kamala Harris, we'll go back to a president who was letting polluters and dumpers and all of these people to do anything they wanted to in our communities and really drive up rates of respiratory problems and more.
Well, again, it means so much. I appreciate it so much that we are educating the community in this way, because I think a lot of things that were happening to us, we thought it was genetic. We have a predisposition for asthma, a predisposition for this, and not thinking about the environmental side. But to all these issues, I know that I also saw that you were meeting with a business roundtable of folks, because as people, again, are trying to figure out, you know, what's the best decision for me on November 5th, there are folks that are saying, I'm trying to start my own business. I don't know what's available to me. What will this administration under Harrison Walls look like for me as a small Black business owner, or, you know, a mid-size or a large Black business for that matter? But what was that roundtable discussion like in Flint with business owners?
It was amazing. A whole bunch of Black business owners, men and women, really talking about what the trend has been. Like under Biden and Harris, we have seen a record number of small businesses start. And what I love about Kamala Harris is she's saying, okay, this is good, but this is not where we need to be. And she set a bold plan to set a record of 25 million new businesses starting, small businesses starting, with a way to do it. Number one, explode the access to capital. We've got to get more resources. We've got to stop making our tax code and corporate bailouts for the big corporations, corporate welfare for the big corporations getting what they want, but small business people are struggling. So they have a plan to reverse that and make sure that entrepreneurs, and whoever they are, veteran entrepreneurs, men and women coming home from prison that want to start businesses, make sure that we increase that opportunity. Much bigger tax cuts from them, increasing it by over 10 times with a $50,000 tax write-off for your small business expenses when you start. And then finally, cutting the red tape. I love that Kamala Harris is speaking directly to a lot of the overly burdensome tax filling out and all of these things that small businesses have to deal with to get their jobs done. So when we were talking about that progress, you should have seen the light in the eyes of these small business people who know the struggle and know that these are hurdles that are now going to be relieved if we can get Harris in there. And I will tell you this, also get a Senate in there that can actually pass the bills that she has been championing. And that means folks like you in Wisconsin have Tammy Baldwin on the ticket too, and have to make sure we vote all the way down the ticket.
So let me ask this question. Again, like I said, a ton of issues that folks are paying attention to. We're trying to speak to as many people as we can about the things that they're concerned about. The IVF vote on the bill that you all just did, the right to IVF. Can you just take a second, because we are hearing lip service, you know, from the other side of the aisle, political aisle, that this is an important issue. We care about it. I know that it's come up, you know, in terms of the debate that happened between VP Harris and former President Trump. But the vote yesterday, I don't think why. I mean, was it yesterday or the day before? I don't think that it was a shocker, but just to help people understand, like, really what's at stake and why can't we get to a place where we can protect IVF with legislation?
Well, we know that when Donald Trump put those 3 Supreme Court justices on the court rolled back the right to have an abortion. They rolled back Roe v. Wade. And by rolling back Roe v. Wade and the ability to control your own body, they began to say that we should take down IVF, because to do that, often you have, when the eggs split 1 or 2 times, you often lose some of those embryos. And so this whole thing they call fetal personhood is something that these Republicans on the far right believe in, which would make IVF impossible. And so they are not only trying to strip away health care, strip away reproductive rights, but even strip away the right to do IVF, which now a large percentage of American children are more and more being born that way. Now think about this. What Democrats are saying is not only should you have a right to IVF, but we should expand that care to more people. And so my bill with some extraordinary people in the House of Representatives is to make private insurance and public insurance cover it. Now, this is where you get Republicans often with their heads spinning because they want to take away insurance. They want to take away the Affordable Care Act, and that's the battle line. And so we had a vote on a bill that over 70% of Americans support, expanding IVF coverage, ensuring that people have a right to it, ensuring that our veterans, our soldiers, men and women in the military, have a right to it. And even though most Americans on both sides of the aisle agree on it, Republicans voted it down. So I hear what Donald Trump says out of one side of his mouth. But when you look at the party and you look at what they've done in the past, especially trying to take away health care from people, believe what they've done, not what they're saying.
So if I can do this, I'll just ask one final question because you've been so generous with your time and it's so appreciated. Yesterday, I talked on my show about the endorsements, and there are times when I'm big on endorsements and time when I'm, it's like, okay, I'm more interested in what everyday lay folks are saying. But the decision by the International Teamsters not to go with an endorsement for either candidate in this upcoming election caught a lot of people off guard on some level. The appearance of the Teamsters president at the RNC, kind of was a telltale. But people, have been saying that the lack of an endorsement might as well have been a vote against. And then when we looked at the statement that came out, it was something that talked about not aligning necessarily or demonstrating that they could protect workers' rights. I was real pleased that here in Milwaukee, our local Teamsters unions have been doing endorsements of VP Harris. But for anyone that's questioning whether or not Vice President Harris and Governor Walz support working families, American workers, what would you say to that as someone who has worked closely with the Vice President?
Well, first of all the major unions, SEIU, Unite Here, all of the major unions representing the majority of workers in America have endorsed UAW, have endorsed Kamala Harris. So, amidst the Teamsters, just know the organization that represents Black Teamsters has endorsed Kamala Harris. We know that working people, when they look at the issues, protecting unions, protecting pensions, protecting living wage, protecting workers' rights, workers' hours, all of these things the Democrats have been fighting for, and we've often been running up against fierce opposition in Congress from Republicans. And so when it comes to workers' rights, when it comes to the power of labor in America, Democratic Party is that. And Donald Trump has betrayed that. And the best example of that is something that a lot of folks don't know called the Butch-Lewis Act, opposed by Trump and activists, which was to preserve the pensions of hundreds and hundreds of thousands of Americans, many of them here in the Midwest. And it was Democrats and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris that got that over the line. So for folks out there, they just should know there is a lot of confusion going on. Donald Trump is saying a lot of things out of both sides of his mouth. But remember, when it comes to fighting for workers in America, Kamala Harris will be the person that will protect your rights, your liberty, and more than that, making sure that you are being paid a fair wage.
So I said that was my last question, but I got to tease you for just a second. The last time I spoke with you, we were getting ready for the DNC. And I was talking about you being on that stage and whether or not, teasing you about your mom and the ability for her to see you in this moment. You just left Las Vegas not too long ago.
Yeah.
And so I got to ask you, how's your mom doing? And what is she saying about the campaign and the work that you were doing to try to help cement this history potentially in electing the first woman as president of the United States, first woman of color. What's your mom saying as she's watching you crisscross the country?
That's last question, because my mom has said time and time again, it's nice to break barriers and put the first black person there. But, we've all seen situations where there's a black person in the room, happy to be there, but doesn't challenge things, doesn't change things.
Right.
When I talk to Kamala personally, she's like, yeah, let's break all these barriers. But what's important to black people is that we actually increase the pace of progress, economic empowerment, making sure people have protections of their civil rights, making sure people have access to health care, making sure that these damn prescription drugs aren't so high. That's what she says she's focused on. And so my mom wants to get it done. She's a Delta. Kamala's an AKA.
Hey, I'm a Delta. Yeah, I didn't know your mom was a Sora. All right.
Yes. She ain't letting that stop her. She says it's the hardest I've ever fought for an AKA in my life.
That's right.
She knows what's at stake. She knows what's at stake.
Well, perfect. Look, Senator Booker, I know that you are busy. We are waiting for you to get here to Wisconsin to help, energize the base, remind us of what's important. We are, like I said, this thing is ticking down, and now it seems like everything is moving in lightning speed. And so as you traverse the country, be safe. We appreciate what you're doing on behalf of the Harris Walls campaign, and we look forward to seeing you in Wisconsin on your upcoming trip.
Thank you. Love to you and love to all your listeners.
Thank you so much. All right, family. That was none other than New Jersey's own U.S. Senator Cory Booker. Look, it's just some folks, like I said, when you talk to them, it feels like you're talking to family. This brother has been crisscrossing the country, trying to make sure that people in communities that look like the listenership of this radio have access, have folks coming in to explain to us the issues, giving us information that is critically needed to make the best decision, and also to push back and challenge on dis and misinformation that's being provided to our community as it relates to this particular campaign. So again, we appreciate that we are in play as a state. We appreciate that we are getting the surrogates and the attention that we so rightfully deserve. But understand this, Milwaukee, this is not coming because there's not an expectation that we know our own importance, that we understand our own significance, that we appreciate that we are a difference maker in this election. 20,000 vote margin in 2020. Over in Michigan, I think their number was like 11,000. This is the wire. So everybody, they spending the resources, they sending the people. We got to do our part and we got to show up. All right, family, let me take a break. I'll be right back. All right, family, welcome back to the show. So as I said, it was a recorded interview that we came in and did over the weekend or either on Friday with Senator Booker. And there were some folks that were texting me like, you should ask them, da-da-da. And I just wanted people to make sure people understood that was pre-recorded. But a couple of things. As I said, Cory Booker is working with the Harris Walls campaign. He was here in that capacity as a surrogate for the campaign. There are people that are working independently of the campaign. Some people in a nonpartisan capacity, simply to make sure that we have some 18 million Black voters, that we are trying to make sure that people show up at the polls to vote. And one of those people, Reverend Jesse Jackson. I went to Holy Redeemer on Sunday. We provided some informational voter guides via the NAACP to support the work that Reverend Jackson and the Rainbow Push Coalition is doing on their tour around the country to battleground states to be able to encourage turnout numbers, significant turnout numbers in the Black community. So there were a number of events that have happened while Reverend Jackson has been in town. He's been to a school district. He's been to a university. He went to, a church and spoke. Then down in Racine, in less than 24 hours, we worked with one of our brothers down on that end, Yusef Buckley, to be able to make sure that Reverend Jackson and the folks from Rainbow Push had an opportunity to do a vote rally, engage voters down in Racine, Wisconsin. And in less than 24 hours, they had 100 people in that arena in terms of the church to be able to get this message out. State Representative Lakeisha Myers helped to facilitate a lot of this. She went down to make sure that we were represented on that end. I had to do a conference here, or I'm sorry, webinar here in Milwaukee for the NAACP. But we have people that are showing up and helping to create opportunities for folks to get as much information as possible. But I'm going to tell you, watching Reverend Jackson, Reverend Jackson has Parkinson's. And when he was at Holy Redeemer, he sat in a wheelchair in the pulpit the entire time. I have been at a number of venues and events with Reverend Jackson. He and Senator Taylor are really, really good friends. And I had to work with his team quite a bit because of the relationship that he had with Senator Taylor. And so watching him and sitting right next to him at Congressional Black Caucus at sessions in the past, to see him where he is now in terms of mobility and his ability to speak, it's all being impacted by Parkinson's. And you don't realize how tall Jesse Jackson is until you stand next to him or you sit next to him. And the last time he was at CBC that I was there with, and I sat next to him in a session, his team had to help pull him up. He was still walking. He still can walk. But his team helped pull him up to be able to leave the room. As I watched him on Sunday, I thought about, number one, that this man has been committed to the whole issue of civil rights and human rights since I've been alive, before I was born. And that it's still necessary for him to do this work 40, 50 years later, 60 years later. Number one, that's crazy to me that Jesse can't go sit down because the work is so important. He wants to stay in it. Like literally when you're talking about people who, like, when they say until my last breath, I'm gonna be in this fight until my last, until I can't no more. And then you see it and it's just like, but you should be able to go sit down, bruh. We should be able to step in and do this work. And his sons were out on the campaign trail or the tour with him and members of his team. But it was a bittersweet moment because you also understand that this man is aging and that, the icons that we have read about and looked up to and heard about, that these people are aging right in front of us. So it made me go back and pull up real quick, and I want to read it. But an article that I saw in the Chicago Tribune, because what made me pay attention to the article, it was a series of photos. And in one of the photos is Reverend Jackson. And I'm trying to look because it looks like, is he standing in a paddy wagon with a bullhorn? And he was. And this photo, which is from 1969, September 8th, 1969. So this time, like 56 years ago, around the same time of year, Jesse Jackson was standing in the door of a police patrol wagon, addressing his followers before being taken to jail after violence broke out at a demonstration at the University of Illinois. So I had to go back and say, wait, let me read the story. What was this about? So y'all bear with me for a second. In July 1969, a strange scene unfolded outside a building on the 3400 block of Douglas Boulevard. Picketers demanded that a building project be shut down, causing workers to walk off the job. It was a familiar scenario in labor-friendly Chicago, but the players were not the usual suspects. Picket signs are usually carried by union members protesting an enterprise staffed by non-union members, scabs, in the labor movement's lexicon. But in this case, the project's workers were union members. Holding the signs were Black protesters, unable to get a union card, without which they couldn't get a job on the project. The effort to force unions to enroll more Black members continued throughout the summer. After leading a march of 400 protesters to the offices of the Builders Association of Chicago, the Reverend Jesse Jackson said Black Chicagoans were caught in a dilemma. Quote, "We have been challenged to work, but we can't get jobs," Jackson said. The picketing in July was organized by the Coalition for United Community Action. The group also mounted a demonstration in the 14th floor offices of the Chicago Building Council at 130 North Wells Street, vowing, quote, to halt all building construction projects in Black communities until 10,000 trainee jobs are filled by Negroes and other members of minority groups, the Tribune reported. On July 30th, the Chicago Defender reported that the coalition redeemed its promise by shutting down 6 West Side construction projects on successive days. Quote, "We are willing to negotiate," said the Reverend C.T. Vivian, coalition coordinator. But it's apparent the unions don't, since they haven't. By August 9th, the New York Times acknowledged that something significant was happening in Chicago. Quote, 20 major construction projects in Negro areas of Chicago have been shut down within the last 2.5 weeks as young Negroes picket the sites in support of demands for more construction jobs for Blacks. 20 sites were still shut down when the coalition called for an end to the protests on September 17th. The conflict ended in a draw. Neither side got what it wanted. A week earlier, Alderman William Cousins, backed by other Black elected officials, made a dire prediction. Quote, "We're sitting on a powder keg," he told the Tribune. "Unless something is done about this in a few days, this city is going to go up in flames." It didn't, but the bitterness lived on. Indeed, it was magnified by neither side being able or willing to see the issue from the other's perspective. Quote, "As the wife of a trade unionist, I went through the 4-year apprenticeship on the sidelines," Norma Noss wrote in a letter to the editor of the Tribune. She acknowledged the needs of Black residents for jobs, but added that, quote, "their so-called spokesmen want everything that the unions fought for and their members paid for since the Industrial Revolution," close quote. White working class members saw no problem in carpenters or electricians' children having first dibs on the jobs in those trades. Wasn't that the way things worked? Colleges and universities often gave preferential treatment to relatives of alumni. So why shouldn't a white working class child have a, quote, legacy admission to the carpenters or the electricians union because his father was a member? Vivian, the boycott's director, thought the answer self-evident. The Tribune reported, quote, "According to his statistics, 4 of the 10 major building unions have only 1 Black journeyman. 2 have none. Another with a membership of 4,650 has only 4. And 1 with 800 whites has only 3 Blacks," close quote. The Chicago construction boycott was partially inspired by Washington's official decision to take a more aggressive approach to a problem of chronic unemployment in Black communities. The strategy was laid out in a Tribune story headlined, "Union Chiefs Fear Federal Control." The federal government has moved to eliminate discrimination in hiring by threatening to cut off federal funds and cancel projects where contractors have been found guilty of discriminatory hiring practices, the Tribune wrote. Chicago is the prime target for the investigation, and labor officials are concerned that unfavorable conclusions will lead to a nationwide sanctions against unions. 2 months before the boycott, Peter Showman, president of the Plumbers Union, said the only way to avoid a government takeover of unions was to actively recruit Blacks. But it was too late for that once union workers were picketing on Douglas Boulevard. A war of words mutated into street battles and sit-ins. With emotions running on overdrive, there were threats and acts of violence in a racially divided city. Quote, a group of nearly 100 Black youths arrived at the site of the new $15 million science and engineering building at Polk and Halstead Streets shortly after 8 a.m. and demanded that workers leave the project and the site be closed. The Tribune reported a clash of the university's Circle campus on August 12th that led to 7 arrests. Quote, a brief scuffle broke out when police stepped in to prevent protesters from breaking into the construction site. 2 weeks later, Black demonstrators described by the Tribune as militants interrupted the Illinois convention of the AFL-CIO in the Congress Hotel. Meredith Gilbert, the group's leader, pushed aside the union's president and shouted, "The convention has ended." Meredith was ordered to get off the speaker's platform because he wasn't a delegate. "I am now," he replied. "Try to make me get off." Union leaders had sent a resolution to the convention urging support for people of color trying to get into the building trades. It was drafted by Charles Hayes, a Black officer of the Amalgamated Meat Cutters Union, who afterward acknowledged his effort wasn't enough. Quote, informed of the disruption of the convention, Hayes, who was working closely with the coalition and civil rights causes, said, "Sorry, I'm sorry," the Tribune reported. "It wasn't as strong as I would have liked it to be, but it was a good statement." Among those at the convention were Ralph Abernathy, who had taken over as the president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference following the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. a year earlier. Mayor Richard Daley seemed reluctant to intervene, perhaps because he was stuck between a rock and a hard place. Unions were prominent in Chicago's political establishment, but Black voters kept him in office. On September 8th, a march on Circle campus construction site ended in a melee when rocks and bottles were thrown at police officers. Among those who were arrested, Jesse Jackson and Leonard Singali, a leader of the Black Peace Stone Nation, a street gang that was a part of the coalition. Quote, "We can't lose. We've got soul power," Jackson shouted to the crowd as he was led away. Earlier in the day, he had been honored as one of Chicago's 10 outstanding young men during a Palmer House luncheon. I'm almost done, y'all. The demonstrators included at least, quote, 10 Blacks with German Shepherds and Doberman Pinschers, the Tribune reported. Union activists found it difficult to accept gang members who purportedly had turned their attention to civil rights causes as partners in resolving the construction work stalemate. On September 18th, the Chicago Defender reported a letter was being circulated by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers that said federal officials were advising that, quote, it would be prudent for the union to deal with individuals associated with the Black Peace Stone Nation, vice lords, or other gangs, because if not, jobs involving federal funding could be shut down. So they were told, I don't care if they're gang members or not. They here talking about Black folks getting jobs. We could lose federal funding if we don't get this done. You need to talk to them gang members. Earlier that week, Mayor Daley invited the unions and the coalition to resume negotiations at City Hall, a tentative agreement, the provisions of which call for the immediate hiring of 4,000 Black workers for journeyman positions or for the apprentice or pre-apprentice training failed to gain traction. The boycott ended without any concession to Blacks seeking jobs, and the conflict continued. The unions ignored a Tribune's editorial suggestion that a reasonable counteroffer could quell the summer-long discontent. Quote, if they prove they are sincere about ending years of discrimination, they will earn the support of fair-minded Blacks, and the militants will be left shouting at an empty room. That's the end of the story. So I want to bring on the line a representative with the Harris Walls campaign, because as we are talking about the issues that are at stake, and when people talk about Make America Great Again or the need to go back to a different time, seeing that photo of Jesse Jackson from 1969 reminded me of that different time and what it is we are asking people to go back to. And as the Harris Walls campaign has said, we're looking forward. We look into the future. So I think we have Garen with us. Garen, are you there? Hello.
Hey, Michelle. Thanks for having me this morning.
Hey, Garen, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, good. Can you do me a favor and just tell people who you are and your role in the conversation this morning?
Yeah, absolutely. So,
And Garen, do you have us
Garen,
on speaker?
I've got you on headphones here. Hard to hear?
Yeah,
Let me.
and we'll give you a second.
Is that better?
Yes, that's much better. Thank
All
you.
right, perfect. All right, well, thanks for having me, Michelle. As you said, my name is Garen Randolph. I am the Wisconsin Coordinated Campaign Manager.
Okay.
So I'm running the Harris Walls campaign here in Wisconsin, and then also, working to elect Democrats up and down the ticket this fall. So.
Perfect. So in this capacity, you got a front row seat to everything that's happening. You are, I'm sure, engaged in what's happening around the country. How are things going so far for the campaign right now?
Yeah, so I do have a front row seat standing around the country, but I'm very focused on Wisconsin, as you know, and it's going well. I think we're building the campaign to beat Donald Trump. This is an effort that started almost a year ago now when I started. But also in Wisconsin, this is a team that we've been building for years. The team that we have on the ground is the same group that sent President Biden to the White House in 2020, reelected Governor Evers in 22, flipped the Supreme Court last year. This is a team that knows how to win Wisconsin. We've been building it now for years, and with the goal of winning this election in 2024 in November. And that's where we're at now. We've built the biggest campaign we've ever had here. We've got over 250 people, staff on the ground. We've got 50 offices across the state in both red and blue counties. And, we've built the infrastructure and team ready to win. Now we've got 42 days to do it. That's going to take, help from all your listeners, everybody else. But we've built the ship. Now we just got to finish it.
So there was a story that just was recently published in The Hill that talked about a potential 7-point lead that Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, may have over former President Donald Trump among likely voters in Wisconsin. When people see that and people get a little bit lax or complacent, like, yeah, there's no way that Trump can win or she got this. What do you say to people when they see those kinds of polls and those numbers? What do people still need to keep in mind?
Yeah, I think the first thing I say to people is ignore the polls. But I also look back, you look back to the last couple presidential elections. Secretary Clinton was winning in 2016 in the polls. President Biden had an 8-point lead on average in the polls in 2020. And both those races were within a point. We won by 20,000 votes in 2020. We don't expect it to be any different this time around. We are the underdog in this race. And that's not just a talking point. That's the situation that we're in. Donald Trump got more votes in 2020 than he did in 16. He's running strong. His campaign is doing what they need to do, and we have to beat him. So I think that it's important to let people know that, there is no 7-point lead here. This race is tied. We are in Wisconsin. Wisconsin is a swing state. It is potentially the state that is going to decide the White House this year. And it's going to come down to, a few thousand votes, just like it did last time. We tell people, it's going to be averages out to about 3 votes a ward across the state. And I don't expect that to be any different this year than it was 4 years ago. So we've got to keep our foot on the gas. We are almost there. We will win this thing. We've just got to make sure to finish it strong.
So 2 questions before you get out of here this morning. And I appreciate certainly the time that you are making for us. Question number 1, if one more person asks me about a yard sign, where the yard signs at, Gary?
Michelle, last time I came on the radio, I got in trouble for sending people to the wrong office to get yard signs. But we do have field offices across the state. Like I said, we've got about 50 offices across the state. In Milwaukee, we have the office on 85th and Lisbon. Again, last time I came on the radio, I sent people there, and there weren't signs there yet, so I'm going to try one more time. If I get in trouble from my staff later today, I'll let you know, but we should have signs over at the field offices.
Perfect. And then I've had a number of people who have reached out to me with real concerns about election protection, about, efforts to intimidate people at the polls, problems at the polls. We saw that VP Harris's name was left off some ballots that were intended for military folks, and that there's now some scrambling being done, not here in the state of Wisconsin, but in another state to correct that. So what do you say to folks that are really worried about making sure that everything is secure? Is the campaign doing anything to help with election protection at this point?
So just yesterday, I was on a call with a group of volunteers we have. They're volunteer poll observers and volunteers that help run our voter protection hotline. So yes, we are doing everything we can to push back against that. We have a huge team of dedicated volunteers across the state that are staffing our hotline. So if anybody has issues, they can call in. They can visit our website, withthems.org, and we'll do what we can. But we saw this in 2022. The playbook from the other side in this race is going to be to cause as much chaos as possible. They know that they don't have a forward-looking agenda for the country, and people around the country, as they tune more into this campaign, are seeing that. And people don't want to go backwards to the years of Donald Trump. Donald Trump's presidency was chaos 4 years ago, and he didn't have a plan that time. So I think that people see the craziness there, but also when Republicans, their best bet here is to cause chaos and make sure that that folks don't know how to vote or folks don't know what's available to them. And I think we're doing everything we can to combat that. But it's on our team, but as well as you and your listeners, to make sure that everybody is looking out for this information, and also knows how to vote, where to vote, and is taking their friends and family there with them and making sure everybody around them knows the same thing.
So I just got a text message. The folks down in Racine are listening, and there is some frustration. I know that we were successful in connecting them with Reverend Jackson's team. They had a rally yesterday, a vote rally yesterday that attracted about 100 people, and people were glad to have somebody come into the area. So one of the things that question was being posed to me is there an office in Racine? Because they're not seeing the energy on the ground necessarily around the campaign in Racine and what's being done. If you can speak to any activity down in the Racine area connected to the campaign. Somebody else also said, again, more people from Racine listening, that Obama had come to Racine. They have not had the vice president come to Racine at all. And so some folks are asking questions, and they wanted me to pose that to you.
Sure. So yes, we do have an office in Racine. Our staff are set up out of the Democratic Party Racine County office down there. And I can get you address and information if that's helpful too.
Okay.
But I think that back to what I was saying at the beginning, we are running a campaign in every corner of the state, and that does include Racine. This is not Milwaukee or Madison focused. We have staff on the ground in Racine. We do events in Racine, and we will make sure to continue to do that. And I think that it's on our campaign to make sure that those concerns that you just said are answered. So heard. We will make sure that we are on the ground in Racine areas like Racine, Kenosha, Beloit, across the state. We know that our voters are not just in Milwaukee and Madison, which is why we've built the campaign we have. We have offices in 43 counties across the state, and that does include Racine and Kenosha. And we will make sure that we are doing everything we can there. We are absolutely not taking the area for granted. Racine was crucial for President Biden's victory in 2020.
Right.
And we know that's going to be the case again. So yeah, we're not going to leave any stone unturned there. We'll be doing as much work there as we are everywhere else in the state for the next 42 days.
Well, I'll tell you what, one thing, and this is open to, any campaigns, but that if there are activities or events or a way I can be plugged in to figure out what's happening in Racine, and I'm happy to talk about those events on the radio, because like I said, I know that this is a resource that a lot of folks listen to down in the area. And so we want to make sure that they, the African Americans or the communities of color are definitely plugged in to what's being done. Because I got like 4 people that hit me up not knowing where to go or what was happening on the ground in Racine. And
I hear you. We can make sure that we are, we can make sure we're doing a better job of making folks know what's available to them. But I do want to say on that point, our campaign is well aware that there are Black folks in other places besides Milwaukee.
Yep, no. No. We know. We playing in a couple of different cities around the state. That's for sure. Well, thank you, Garen, for making time this morning. We'll continue to get updates, check in periodically to see what's happening with the campaign, get information out to residents and constituents as needed. And let's see, I'll see if we can holler at you next week and see
All right,
what
yeah. Thanks
see
for
what's
having me,
going
Michelle. I'll
on.
come back whenever.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you, Garen. Appreciate it.
Bye.
All right, family. So look, so for the folks that are listening down in Racine, do me a favor, call over to the Democratic Party office there to see what's happening, what's going on. But I know that there will also be people that will be looking, how they target specifically Black voters, African American voters. We'll see if we can connect with some of the Black groups on the ground in Racine to make sure that folks are being engaged and they know what's going on. We can't afford to leave anybody on the sidelines. We got to turn out votes. We got to turn out votes. We have to turn out voters in order to do that. All right, y'all. Let me take a quick break. I'll be right back. Just in time. All right, welcome back to the show. I can't stand Debo. It's about the mic is hot. The mic is hot. I'm like, I'm chewing this orange slice. It's stuck all to the back of my teeth. I'm going to choke on it, try to hurry up and get it down. All the sugar crystals. Scratch you about the road. Hold on. I drink some coffee. Wait. Hey, I had to get rid of the orange slices. All right, we got a caller on the line. Let me go to the phone line. Hey, caller, what's happening?
I was gonna say I'm showing up. Don't forget that.
Oh, no. We got a whole thing getting ready to happen with the I'm showing up. Thanks, sis. All right, appreciate it. All right, family. So was talking to Garen Randolph with the Harris Walls campaign. Before I did that, though, talked about the photo that caught my attention of a young Jesse Jackson in 1969 about to be arrested. And it was interesting how the police was handling him because he was allowed to finish saying what he was saying on the megaphone before they pushed him over into the paddy wagon. But you see the door, because I was like, no, that's a police wagon. You see the door, like, he about to go to jail. And I had to think about, number one, the folks who would tell us it's time out for marching. It's time out for this. And, the old way is just that. It's old. What do we do now to move the needle and garner support? And I have learned over the years to tell people, you use every tool and resource available to you. You don't turn your nose up. You don't dismiss. You don't minimize, marginalize tactics that were employed back in the day for the advent of newer social media technology, because it's a whole bunch of people that's going to protest on social media. But them folks that's going to stand there and block folks from going into a job site and demanding that we get something for these workers in our community and be willing to go to jail for that, them numbers is few and far in between. And even back then when Jesse was doing it, it was people going to jail. But there were a lot of folks that were nervous and antsy about it. As we see a Reverend Jackson showing up and coming out to continue to do this work 60 years later, number one, we need to show up when we know this brother going to be in town. Number two, we need to be able to say, hey, we got it. We going to carry the work forward. We're going to get it done. You set us up, but we got it. And then we're going to have to do it for real and do it at the level that they did. I said this when I was at an event not too long ago. It's a whole bunch of organizations out here that look good on paper, but in reality, y'all ain't doing nothing. But let the report tell it. Let the paperwork show it. Y'all done did a whole bunch. But in reality, you've been talking to your own members. You ain't moved a needle for nobody. Very few new people have gotten the message, been getting the training, been brought into the fold. Keon used to talk about paper champs or paper bosses. We can't afford for people to play like they understand the work that a Jesse Jackson them understood when they was out here fighting for change for civil and human rights. We can't just look good on paper in our organizations, y'all. And on these reports we giving to people to support grant funding. We got to be good. We got to do the work for real. With that, I got to get out of here. Diva, we're going to still holler about that door being open. Carvey. I'm good. He holds up an orange slice. I haven't recovered from the last one you gave me. All right, family. Tune in this afternoon, the midweek flow. We will be in effect talking about a bunch of issues. And until then, I'll talk to you later. Peace.